Hey guys, what's up? Happy New Year. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to sit down and share all of my 2021 yearly favorites with you. I really try to be cutthroat because originally when I was pulling in favorites, my box was overflowing. There were way too many products, so I tried my best to dwindle it down. Also, I'm not repeating any products from my 2020 favorites. Obviously, a lot of those products are still ride or die for me, but I didn't want to just have a video of me talking about all the same products again. Just keep in mind, I would say like 90% of those products I still absolutely love and adore. For instance, Danna Myricks Power Bronzer, that will be a forever favorite, but I just wanted to note that way, like if you're watching this and you're like, hey, I thought you liked this bronzer or this foundation. I do still like them, but these were products that really won my heart over for the year of 2021. Also, I will be uploading a lifestyle favorites video as well later this week, just talking about my all-time favorite products from like Amazon, household items, books, jewelry, other like beauty related products, for instance, hair care, nails, all those sorts of things. So if you are interested, definitely don't forget to subscribe. That way you can have, or subscribe, turn on notifications. That way you're notified when that video uploads. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the intro. Let's go ahead and get into these favorites. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the products in the way that I would apply them. So for me, I always start off with brows, even before primer, but that's because of the brow gel that I use. If you guys have been following along for the last few months, you know this has been a holy grail product for me. It's just the Got To Be Glued Styling Spiking Glue. If you're someone that travels a lot or you just don't have a larger area to store your makeup, they do sell these bottles in smaller versions as well, which is probably the bottle that I would buy the next time I purchase this. This has lasted me forever since it's the full-size tube. I not only use it for my brows, but Landon, my son, uses it in his hair. I just love the look of like a laminated spiky brow. I know that's not for everyone, but I notice whenever I use this gel, it really increases just the volume of my brow. I think I do have a small little demo to insert, but as you can see, my brows start off a lot smaller, and just by brushing them up, this glue really keeps it in place all day long. The key is though, just to go in with a little bit. You can always add more, but once it dries down, it doesn't feel like crunchy to the touch, but I think that's because I flatten them down. It really molds your brows into place all day long. They do not budge. It takes a cleansing oil to remove this stuff. Plus, it's so affordable. I know the ABH Brow Freeze has been really viral recently, but I'm pretty sure that small little tub like this big costs probably $20 or more. This massive tube costs less than $5, and I've used it all year and I still have a ton in there. So I would highly recommend checking this out. The other brow product that I have to use every single day, or on days that I'm wearing makeup, even on days where I'm not wearing makeup, but if I'm gonna go out, I feel like as long as I have like eyebrows and a smidge of mascara, I feel so much better about myself. This is the Milani Weekend Brow Eyebrow Tint. I have mine in the shade 140 Espresso. I'm pretty sure this is the deepest shade. This product lasts forever. I love how thin and precise the brush tip of this is. So this comes into play especially on this tail portion of my brow, just because I feel like the tail on my brows ends too quickly, and I like more of an elongated brow, so this is perfect. And since it isn't overly opaque, it's just a really easy brow pen to use. I've tried other ones that go on a little bit too dark or too thick. This, everything flows out so smoothly and it comes all the way out to the tip. I've tried other brow markers where sometimes you have to like angle it just right to get it out. Next up, primers. This was a tough one for me because I have an entire drawer full of primers. I absolutely adore primers. It's a step that I always have to do, but I narrowed it down to two. Now this first one isn't even necessarily a primer, it's a liquid luminizer. This is the Auric Glow Lust in the shade Pyrite. I have used this product so much, and I think I still have more than half in here. The glow that it gives is so beautiful. There's no actual glitter in it. It's just this amazing, glowy, dewy, just plumping sort of formula. Not only do I wear it under my foundation, some days I mix it in with my foundation, and I apply it on top as its actual intended use, as a liquid luminizer. I just love this product. This will be something that will forever be in my collection. Hold please. Now the other primer, if you're looking more for like a pore blurring option, as much as I love the Tatcha Smoothing Primer, not the one like the balm version, but the one that comes in a pump, that one is beautiful, but I prefer this one more because not only does it blur, but it kind of gives you this really nice pop of a pink pearlescent brightening effect. It's not necessarily glowy, it's just brightening, almost like the way that a pink brow highlighter works. It's kind of like that same sort of effect. So I love to apply this just right here on my cheeks where I have larger pores, because not only will it blur and smooth those areas, it just kind of brings some light and brightness right into that area. I have mine in the smoothing version. I know that there's a hydrating, mattifying, There may even be one more. I want to say they came up with like a no, that's the hydrating, mattifying, smoothing. There might be one more, I'm not quite sure. The only thing is the packaging gets really nasty. Another thing that I love about this product is that the pump is so well controlled. You can either go in with like, I mean like the teeniest, tiniest, like that much, or you could go in with a full pump. It's really lightweight, but while still being smoothing, you have no like chalky silicone sort of feel. It's just very lightweight, but it does a great job of smoothing out those pores. Let's go ahead and go on to foundations. This, I think I discovered more about mid-year, but ever since picking it up, I haven't been able to put it down. This is the VDL Perfecting Last Foundation. I have mine in the shade, are you on here? I think it's shade 4. I do have a video of this as well that I'll be sure to link down below and up above. I just love the overall formula of this. A natural finish, but while still having this sort of like dewy quality. It's not as dewy as the Wet n Wild Photo Focus. I have no idea why it took me so long to try this foundation because I've loved the VDL Lumi Layer Primer for years and years now. So one day on YesStyle, I finally clicked add to cart and it's a doozy. This was a year of skin tints, so I really had to buckle down and pick which ones were like my ultimate favorite. I'm pretty sure I already talked about the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint in last year's favorites video. If not, I should have included that in here as well. That's more of like a fall, winter, spring foundation for me just because it is so incredibly glassy and just glossy, dewy goodness on the skin. It's almost too wet, but I personally love it. If I didn't include that in last year's favorites, it should have been in this one. I do love that one. But two other skin tints that I loved. In fact, I did an entire skin tint rundown video. I've mentioned that video so many times. Both of these are from the drugstore. First up, we have the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. I have mine in light and then I believe light medium as well. I just love the way that this feels on the skin. If you're just looking for the perfect everyday sort of wear tinted hydrator, this is perfect. It is buildable. I would say you could get it to like a light medium coverage, and then with concealer, it's like the perfect amount of coverage. The only thing is the shade range isn't great. I really wish Wet n Wild would buckle down like they did with like the Photo Focus. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, the Photo Focus line. They ended up expanding that. That was originally only like 6 or 8 foundations, and then they had gone through and expanded it. Hopefully they do the same thing with this because this was definitely the year for skin tint. So why they kept the shade range so small, I'm not quite sure. This has hyaluronic acid as well as squalane. The other one, this, while I do like on its own, more than anything, I really like to mix this or add this into other foundations that I'm really just wanting to add a little bit of hydrating, glossy finish to. This is the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk. I have mine in the shade 550 light medium. One downside to this product, there's aloe vera and coconut milk in it. If you don't use it often, you really have to shake it up. Every now and then I'll find tiny little white beads in it. Once you like rub them in, it just kind of dissolves or like melts into the product and it's fine. But it is a little bit off-putting, I won't lie. The first couple times I was like, what are these beads? But then several of you guys told me that's probably just the coconut milk in here. If you like something that's very just hydrating on the face, this is really nice. I mean, it's incredibly light coverage. But when you mix this in with products that just feel a little bit too heavy, or if you're just wanting to sheer a product out, this is just like the perfect additive. I love mixing this with the It Cosmetics CC cream if I'm just wanting something a little bit less. This is so pretty. I'll mix these two products together. It makes your skin look like you just came out of a hydrofacial. It's so beautiful. This is the Pyrite Nail Clearing BB Cream. I have the shades 27 and 23. This was the original packaging. This is the current packaging. Typically, I'm always number 27 Sand Beige. It is a K-Beauty product, so the shade range, unfortunately, is very small. But I'm so fair right now. Like, I've done 0 self-tanning, so right now I'm having to mix 27 and 23 together. If you're able to find a shade that works for you, the formula, the coverage, the longevity, everything about this is just chef's kiss. I feel like I need to go quicker. Concealers. Originally, I was going to put the NARS corrector in here. While I still love that product, this one from Innisfree is much more affordable. I'm pretty sure you get more in here, and it actually just works better on my skin tone. So I use the shade, shoot, it's all in Korean. I want to say this one is Peach Beige. It says number 2. I'll link the exact shade that I have down below. If you have any sort of just like discoloration on your eyes, I don't really get like the bluish purple under eye circles, but I just get more of this like orange sallow darkness both on my eyelids and my inner corners. This corrector just mutes all of that out. It's getting this concealer. I haven't been able to put it down. This is the Catrice True Skin High Cover Concealer. It has hyaluronic acid. It says it's waterproof. I use mine in the shade 18 Cool Rose. I mentioned this in a previous video. If you were a fan of the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, not the one that came in the thin one, but the multi-sculpting concealer that pretty much all of us loved for quite a long time. That was the only concealer I used probably for like 2 years straight. Like I would test other concealers out, but I always went back to the Too Faced one. I haven't really, ever since finishing my bottle, I think maybe like in February, I haven't gone back to it because I finally discovered so many other concealers that I love. If you're looking for something that's high coverage without being drying, that isn't overly heavy on the under eyes, the Catrice True Skin is amazing. This used to be carried at Ulta, but they pulled it from Ulta. Now you can get it from the Catrice website or on Amazon. Next up, this was another one from the drugstore. This is the Milani Conceal and Perfect Longwear Concealer. This shade is in 125 Light Natural. I do need to get probably just one shade deeper. I was really impressed by this. This concealer took me forever to try because years ago I tried the Conceal and Perfect foundation and I hated it. It was so heavy, mask-like, drying, almost too full coverage. So I just never bothered with the concealer, but wow, this is actually really nice. The only thing is the concealer dries down quickly, so you have to work fast. I do like one section at a time because it does dry down, but it's not a drying formula. I've explained this in several videos. It just dries down quickly, but it has great coverage. From there, let's move on to powder. I'm not someone that really uses pressed powders too often, but on the days that I do, this is a go-to, and it's because it's more of a glowy powder. This is the Laura Mercier Candleglow Sheer Perfecting Powder. I have mine in the shade 2. I wish you guys could reach to the screen with your sanitized hands and feel this because it is so silky and luxe. The foundation I'm wearing today is a little bit too tacky and I just want to set it, but I don't want to mattify anything. This is the perfect powder for that. I actually have the deeper shade in 5 as well that I like to use more as a light bronzer. Now for loose powders, I did an entire video of the RCMA foundations and pressed powders that they launched, but the shade Topaz in their Premier loose powders, Topaz and maybe Amethyst, is that the pinky one? Those have been my go-to. This powder is magical. Both this, actually I should have included the pressed powder from RCMA as well. This blurs out your pores like no other. It doesn't make your face feel like overly matte and dry. Sometimes with some loose powders you apply them and it just feels like it sucks up every bit of moisture on your face. These don't do that. They're incredibly silky while still leaving behind a little bit of coverage, especially if you have really dark under eyes. I think you would love this on top of concealer. I personally love to concentrate it right here on the sides of my nose where I have those larger pores. I'll really target there, and then right here between my brows, I've forever now had this like huge pore that just is always there. This just kind of cancels everything out without feeling overly like drying. Let's go ahead and move on to bronzers. I have 2 cream bronzers. I know this has been in a yearly favorites probably ever since it launched, but I've been using this so much lately that it's another product where I feel like I'd be cheating if I didn't talk about it. I'm just gonna quickly say, Huda Beauty Tantour, if you're looking for an incredible cream bronzer that is super long wearing, even if you have oilier skin, I think you would love this because it's not overly, it's creamy, but not like super emollient, like many other cream bronzers out there where sometimes if you have really oily skin, you feel like it's gonna slip right off. This is a cream contour that is truly long wearing. I've been using this since it's launched, which I feel like it's easily over 2 years, right? I'd have to go back and check. But the shade Light is my go-to. Absolutely adore that. However, a newer cream contour that technically isn't a cream contour, the Nudestix Nudefix Cream Concealer in the shade 9, I've been loving this as a cream contour. When it comes to coverage, it is sheer to light. It's not even really buildable. It's one of those products where it's almost more like a tint. If you are looking for a cream contour and you just notice that you're someone who's a little bit more heavy-handed, you have a hard time blending it out, go check out the Nudestix Concealer. I wanted to include the Hourglass again, but I talked about that in last year's yearly favorites. This is the Physicians Formula Matte Monoi Butter Bronzer. I know everyone raves about the original butter bronzer, but I had originally found the Matte Sunkissed, Matte Sunkissed Bronzer, Matte Monoi Butter Bronzer in the Physicians Formula. I can't even think of the palette right now. I talked about it in several monthly favorites. Love that palette, and this bronzer was in there and I raved about it, saying that I just preferred it over the butter bronzer because it's more of this like orangey sort of tone. If you like the overall formula of butter bronzer, but you're like me and you just like more of that orangey warm goodness, you would love this one. I used so much in the other palette, but I didn't always want to travel with the entire palette. So while this is a little bit bulkier, I like that it's just the one bronzer. If it's a day where I'm just looking for more of a glowy sort of bronze, this is a product that I reserve more for spring and summertime whenever I'm not being lazy and I actually want to self tan or have some natural color. This is the NARS St. Barths bronzer. I love doing a monochromatic look with this. I'll use this on my eyes, on my cheeks, dust it down my neck and my chest. It just creates the most amazing bronzy sun-kissed glow. It's like the easiest look to create. Just go in, apply it mainly on your lid, and then just diffuse it up through your crease, pop some onto your cheeks, go in with a nice nude gloss, and it's just the prettiest beachy like evening summertime look. Let's move on to blushes. I had so many cream blushes that I love this year, but I narrowed it down. First up, the NARS Liquid Blush. Towards the end of the year, I really started using Dolce Vita a lot, but if you've been here a while, you know that I just love kind of like terracotta, peachy, rusty orange blushes. So Hot Tin Roof was definitely a favorite. As you can see, I have used a ton of this, which I think is pretty impressive because these are so freaking pigmented. You only need a little bit. I love that you can keep it really soft and muted. Some days if I'm still wanting something like glowy on my cheek, but I don't want to have to go in with another powder highlighter on top, I will take this and mix in just the tiniest drop of the Auric Glow Lust. I'm telling you, this combination is phenomenal. If you are looking for the perfect terracotta blush and you haven't tried this one yet, it's stunning. Or if you're just looking for a long wearing blush, I don't care if you're oily, normal, dry, you cannot go wrong with these NARS liquid blushes. They are freaking potent when it comes to pigmentation. You need like, I'm talking the tiniest little pump of this goes such a long way. I typically go in on the back of my hand and then I'll lightly rub it out and then go in with my brush. If you rub it out too much though, it does dry down pretty quickly, so you do have to work pretty fast. Once it's on your cheeks, it does not budge. This is like an actual bulletproof formula when it comes to blushes. Next up, we have this K-Beauty brand. This is the Naming Playful Cream Blush in the shade Benevolent. I have two others, but this is definitely my favorite. Once again, another orangey, corally sort of blush. I was using this blush and then I would go in with the Clio Air Prism blusher in, I think it was called Coral Love, something like that. On top, that was pretty much the only combo that I wore for probably like 4 months straight. I absolutely loved it. While I still love that blush, this has definitely been in use all year long. I don't care what time of the year, this blush is just so beautiful. If you're not a fan of corals, there's several other shades on there. They even have like this really cool dusty lilac shade. I have another pink one in my collection. I just love the formula of this. It's a cream, but it's almost more like a balmy sort of cream. So it is very buildable. Like you can keep it really sheer or you can go in and add a little bit more. I go in with a ColourPop F, it's like the flat little stippling brush to apply this. The way that it's almost more like a tint. I'm still able to see my skin underneath, but while still having this really nice flush. It's so, so beautiful. And then a slightly newer favorite, the Beauty Pie Cream Blushes. I have 3 of these in my collection now. If you are curious about Beauty Pie, I either have 2 or 3 different videos on my channel. I'll be sure to link them down below. While this is a cream, it has more of this whipped sort of texture to it, so it's not quite as balmy as the Naming one. Once again, kind of that like tinted stain sort of look. I have a really rich berry as well, but I was surprised how much I loved Fresh Faced. I mean, hello, are you even surprised? This is the Beauty Pie Glow All Super Powder Face Palette. If you have a membership with Beauty Pie, you can get this entire palette for under $20. I think it's like 17 or 18 bucks. These powders are so freaking incredible. They have this really nice silky baked quality to them, and it's a palette where I use everything in the palette. Sometimes, you know, you get face palettes and you only use a couple of the products. This is a palette where I get use out of all 4 products. Love the bronzer in here, both the blush shades, the highlighter. They're just absolutely stunning. They have this really nice subtle glow to them. Oh, I love this face palette so much. Next up, let's move on to highlighters. I have two different products here. Technically, this would fall into the highlighter category as well because as I mentioned, I use it as a primer, as a mix into my foundations, and then as a luminizer as well. But if we're just talking like other powder highlighters, this is my one sort of like bougie product in here. This is the Burberry Rose Gold No. 4 Fresh Glow Highlighter. I kind of forgot about this, and then I would say since maybe like September or so, I've been so in love with this highlighter. It's just the perfect tone. It says rose gold, but I mean, there is a very subtle rosiness to it, but to me, it almost just reminds me of like a champagne rosy tone. It's just so beautiful. It's a highlighter that just works amazing on top of any blush that I'm wearing. Now, if you are just looking for a all over face highlighter where you can use them as like eyeshadows, blush toppers, highlighters, you're wanting pigmentation, you're wanting variety. This right here, this is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork palette. This comes in the light version, a deeper version as well. I kept the deeper version because there's some amazing like rich bronzy golds in there. These powders are so richly saturated. They're powders, but they have this really creamy, soft, silky quality to them. I love to go in and mix and match them. If I'm looking for more of just like bronzy glow, then I'll go in with no prob. But just on like a day-to-day basis, I typically go in with Smooth Sailing and just mix in the tiniest bit of like duh. This as an inner corner highlight as well. If you just want like a bing sort of highlighter. If you were someone who was a huge fan of the Becca Champagne Pop highlighter, like the consistency of that formula where it's just so creamy that it almost feels wet, you would love the Danessa Myricks one. Okay, next up, let's move on to eyes. This may be shocking, but I don't really have a holy grail palette for the year. This was the year that I was so into singles. I've been talking about my MAC products for the last few months, so this should come as no surprise. I did do a tutorial using all, well, not all of these, but like my go-to shades in here. I've been such a fan of just diving into my singles this year, creating my own palettes. Anytime like a new palette launched, I would go through my ColourPop singles, Makeup Geek singles, NARS, MAC, and just kind of create my own version of that palette or like the specific shades in that palette that were really calling my name. And honestly, it really kind of helped me from buying so many palettes this year because typically palettes are my weakness, but this year I was just all about the singles. Wood-winged soft brown, Naked Lunch, MAC eyeshadows were definitely where it was at this year for me. And then this right here is a palette that I've been using so much for the last couple of months. I just have a couple of the JLo Inglot shades in here, some Makeup Geek shadows, for instance, like Tiki Hut, Honey Badger, Starry Eyed. Unfortunately, I think these three, I mean, a black you can do anywhere. I need to go on Inglot's site. I know this is the shade Sienna. This was their JLo collab, but this is like the best warm, rich camel shade ever. I've been using this on my crease so much. In fact, the next palette that comes out that I really want, maybe I'll kind of do a video of that, just showing you like what palettes, or not palettes, what shadows I pull out from my singles collection to kind of replicate that palette, because honestly, that's what I've been doing all year long, and I don't know why I didn't film a video about it. These should come as no surprise. The Danessa Myricks Color Fix Cream colors. I have mattes, metallics, foils, but I wanted to talk about these 6 shades because these are 6 that I absolutely love. While I do love the mattes as well, I just really like some sort of shimmery topper. The newest one in my collection is Milky Way. It's one that I've wanted for quite a while now. If you're familiar with these, you know you only need a tiny bit. These are multi-use products. You can use them on your cheeks, your lips, your eyes. Milky Way, if you're just looking for like an amazing white gold, just like shattered glass topper, you would love this one. Celebration is another must-have for me. Nebula and Goldmine. If you love pinks, you would love Ballerina. Lately, I really like to go in with a warm crease, and then I'll go in with Odyssey. There's so many incredible shades. They are so long wearing, even if you have really oily lids. In fact, I recommended these to my friend Christine. She was saying how she has a problem with like cream and liquid shadows because her eyelids are really, really oily. She finally picked these up and she's been raving about them as well. Like she said, everything transfers on her. Mascaras, eyeliners, she's been using these and absolutely loves them. So I'm telling you, if you have oily lids and you haven't tried these yet, Give them a go. You won't regret them. These are actually from a Taiwanese brand. They're called the Miko Dazzling Light Eyeshadow Mousse. So I have shade 2-6. I have a couple others, but these are my go-tos if you just love a really nice bronzy gold. This one is stunning. I would say number 2 is more of an eyeshadow topper. Number 6, you do have a base to it, but all the shades are a little bit different. If you go in with something really glittery like number 2, you'll notice it's more of a glazed topper, but if you go in with a deeper shade, a lot of those tend to have more of a pigmented base. These are kind of a hybrid of the Maybelline Color Tattoo Cream Shadows. If those and ColourPop Super Shock Shadows had a baby, you would get these. These aren't quite as fluffy as the Super Shock Shadows. They have more of like a thicker, creamy consistency, but the pigmentation, the glittery goodness that you get from them is very similar. I've been loving these. Right now on YesStyle, I believe these are $9. They go like in and out of sale. When I first purchased them, I think I paid like $6. If you love just an amazing eyeshadow topper, number 2 is beautiful. Even on a bare lid, you get more of the lilac-y golden pearlescent pink, but there's not much of a base. You just get this incredible sheen. So no matter what, if you go in on top of like a black shadow, a brown shadow, it kind of just like morphs into whatever shadow you're using and just gives this really cool shattered light sort of effect. I don't own any of the Hourglass, isn't that what those are called? Shattered light cream shadows. But I have a feeling that these would be pretty similar just from swatches that I've seen. And like I said, right now they're only $9. If you've been here for a while, you know I have an obsession with the Laura Mercier Caviar Sticks. I still do. I've tried so many other eye crayons to find a similar dupe. The closest I've ever found are these from Beauty Pie. With a membership, you can get these for under 10 bucks. I think like $7 to $8. But this shade Huntress has been on repeat for me. I love to wear this just all over my lower lash line. To smudge it out, I wear it in my actual waterline as well. These are pretty much spot on dupes for the Laura Mercier Caviar Sticks. I only have 2 shades so far. I definitely want to pick up more because the metallic ones that I have are stunning. Love the Caviar Sticks, but those aren't in your budget. Check out the Beauty Pie ones. You will not be disappointed. Okay, for mascaras, Maybelline Sky High. This I discovered this year. Absolutely love it. I only wear waterproof mascaras. Some people absolutely hate it because they feel like it's too hard to remove. I just go in with my Dear Claire's cleansing oil. I think it's like the deep black one. There's a normal version and then there's like a richer version. I use the richer one. I have no issues melting this right off with that cleansing oil. Then for my lower lashes, another Maybelline mascara. This is the Maybelline Lash Discovery Mini Brush Waterproof. Back in the day, I used to love the Clinique Lower Lash Mascara or the MAC, what is that one called? Nano or Giga Black, something like that. The tiny like blue tube, but this one is from Maybelline. It's like under $6 and it works just as well and it's waterproof. Love that for my lower lashes. I know I'm about to sound like a hypocrite because when I first talked about this like best-selling Japanese mascara, I think I originally bought the volume version and there was fibers in it. I hated it. It was a mess. It made my eyes itch. It just wasn't good. Plus, I don't think I bought the waterproof version. Then I got the Long Up mascara, super waterproof. This one, actually when I look, maybe there are tiny fibers in here, but I don't notice them on my lashes at all. If you have lashes that are impossible to curl, try this mascara. This will hold your curl. This is what I have on my lashes right now, just like the Maybelline Sky High. In fact, this is even stronger than the Maybelline Sky High. This, I do have to go in and really take my time with the cleansing oil to dissolve it all off, but it does come off without like removing my lashes. This holds a curl on my lashes all day long. I love that it's rich and black. You just have to make sure you get the right one because like I said, originally I bought the volume version and I hated it. It was a mess, it was clumpy, it was gross. Finally for lips and then we are done. First up, the LA Girl Precision Lip Liners. These lip liners are beautiful. If you love MAC lip liners, you would love these. If you love the NYX Slim Pencil lip liners, you would love these as well. I've just been wearing this as my everyday lip color, whether it's Sugar and Spice or Cafe. I have a McNubbins version in my purse, but I buy multiples of these just because they're so cheap. I like to have one in my vanity. I like to have one in my car, in my purse. I just love the formula of these. Some days I go in with just lip liner, but most days I'll go in with a coat of this lip liner and then some sort of balm or gloss on top. These say that they're tinted balms, like matte tinted balms, but the formulation of these, NARS killed it. So my 3 favorite shades are Whiplash, Brief Encounter, and Intimate. I would say Intimate is probably the shade that I wear the most. When I first read the name, I was like, are these gonna be like those powdery sort of like matte balms? They're not at all. They actually feel really nice on the lips. When you first apply them, they glide right on like a hydrating balm, but then they kind of dry down to more of a matte look. They look matte on the lips, but they don't feel matte, if that makes sense. Sometimes with like matte balms, you'll get that really powdery, chalky feel. You don't get that with these at all. I love the nude shades in this line. They are so beautiful. There are my yearly favorites. I would love to hear about some of your standout products down below. Don't forget to stay tuned later this week. I will be uploading my lifestyle favorites as well, where it's just like Amazon picks, kitchen things, hair, nails, just like other semi like beauty related products, and then just like random products like books and whatnot. So definitely stay tuned for that. As always, thanks so much for hanging out. If you haven't already, I would love if you subscribed, and that's pretty much it. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.